for funding. Today's webinar is hosted by Coggno and BSS Online. My name is Kat Motto, and I'm the Sales and Marketing Director at Coggno. I'd like to just take a moment and thank our partner community who have invited their members and clients to attend today. Coggno partners with many business segments, including chambers of commerce, payrolls, PEOs, business centers, and petroleum marketers, to provide their members and clients access to online business training courses directly from their website. If you would like some information about becoming a Coggno partner, please email us at info@coggno.com, and I'll follow up with you and provide you some details about this free partnership. Today's webinar is led by Sheila Elliott from BSS Online, and Sheila is one of our content providers offering many business courses. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Sheila now, and she'll provide an introduction and get right into today's webinar. But before I do that, I do want to bring your attention to the chat feature on the right-hand side of your GoToMeeting panel. If you have any questions at all that you would like to present to Sheila, feel free to put your questions in the chat, and she will address those. There will also be a Q&A at the end of the session. So Sheila, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. So my name is Sheila, and I'm going to quickly give you an introduction about myself so that you get to know me as part of the Coggno family, which I am very pleased to be part of. I'm a business consultant and a business trainer, and I've helped many small businesses, startups, and SMEs to develop their business planning skills, specifically around funding. Very often, small businesses are challenged in this area, and it is one area that I felt I can make the most difference in, and that's something I have been doing. I've worked for many organizations that provide funding to SMEs and startups. To name a few, I've worked for high street banks like Barclays and Lloyds, TSB, and a lot of microfinance institutions that are subsidized by government funding. I've also worked for public sector organizations that give grant to small businesses as well as medium-sized businesses in a variety of areas. I decided to put together courses primarily because I felt that the startups and SMEs very often do not understand what funding organizations are looking for, and that's where my focus is. Now, in terms of my personal life, I'm a mother of 2 grown-up children, and obviously I have a granddaughter. When I tell people I do have a granddaughter, they tend to look at me and wonder if I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I love to dance. If you ever see me teaching and meet me at parties, you probably will think that it cannot possibly be the same person, because people feel that I have a very extreme personality. When I'm walking, I'm doing a lot more walking, and when I'm playing, I'm doing a lot of fun. It's not unusual for me to go to parties and find myself attracting a lot of people asking, who is that lady? Because I do like my dance. Some highlights I could give you about my, my career, and perhaps that will give you an insight about my personality, is the first I will talk about is 2008. Well, 2007, I had this situation where I had to go down to San Diego to go on a cruise for, it was an author mentorship program, and it was held by a gentleman called Bob Proctor, and I went on that cruise with the primary purpose to learn about how to write a book. Well, it didn't take me long when Mark Victor Hansen, the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul, came on stage And the moment he started speaking, I just fell in love with him, and I thought to myself, oh, this is the man that I would definitely need to learn from, and I want him to coach me. Well, what I then did was very strange, and basically I just told my friends that the next time I have the opportunity to take a picture with him, I want them to video the whole thing. I didn't know what I was going to do. I wrote a letter to him, held it in my hands, went up to the stage, got someone to actually video me whilst I was having a chat with him, and asked him right there, can you mentor me? And of course, I remember when I opened my mouth, he said to me, oh my God, I love your voice. And I was thinking, what's this about my voice? And basically Mark Victor Hansen there and then basically decided he was going to mentor me, and he endorsed the book I published the following year. I have spoke about the women issues and issues to do with funding for ethnic businesses as well as women-owned businesses at a variety of conferences. And to name a few, I spoke at the House of Lords in the United Kingdom about the topic, and I've actually put a link there where you could see details of the program, which actually happened in 2010. I was voted one of UK's best ethnic women in business during the International Women's Week in 2013, and again there is a YouTube video there because Google actually did something about all the nominees, of which I was one of them. So that's me in a nutshell. So I guess you probably will get an insight of where I'm coming from as I progress with the presentation today. Now, what am I going to cover with you in the session, in the time I have with you? Obviously, I cannot go into every topic in this presentation in great depth, but I'm hoping that you will learn from this presentation, at least you get an overview of what funders are looking for when they review business plans, so that if you are planning to write a business plan, you will make sure you align your business plan with their requirements. So one of the outcomes I'm hoping to get out of today, which hopefully you will get out from today, is why do you need a business plan, and why do funders require a business plan? And how do you ensure your business plan address the issues that lenders and investors are really interested in when they review business plans? What techniques do they actually use, or what are the range of tools they use to evaluate business plan for funding? Because the truth be known, many of the business plans that are submitted to funders do not get success, and there is a reason for that. So we're going to talk about some of these issues. Then I want to make sure that you understand that there are different types of funding, and each of them have pros and cons, and it's important that you know what they are. Then there is going to be a Q&A session as well. So let me just quickly answer the question that's here. What is a business plan, and why do funders require them? First and foremost, it's important for you to know that there are a variety of reasons why business plans are produced. It doesn't necessarily mean that every business plan that is produced for funding. There are business plans that are put together primarily just so that the entrepreneur or the business owner knows the direction of focus in terms of how they move their business forward. So it could just be for business improvement, or a plan that kind of provide a roadmap to achieve that particular success that they're looking for. But generally speaking, business plans are management tools for accomplishing core business strategy. And strategy is the direction that the organization seeks to follow. And it is a management tool that is used really to communicate the objectives of the organization and how it plans to achieve them. For someone who is starting up a business plan can be a tool to communicate the business ideas and how those ideas are going to be translated into a profitable venture. Then it could be when you're putting together a business plan, you ought to know that the objectives of the business plan have to be specific goals that are set for the organization to accomplish mission. And here again is another confusion, because very often people confuse what strategy is and what objectives are. So what I would like to leave with you is that the objectives are the specific goals that your organization have set to accomplish against a particular time frame. So these goals could be, for instance, to increase your customer retention or your sales in a particular year by a particular percentage, so 10% growth or market penetration of 15% over a period of 24 months. So all of these are what business plans are designed for a business. But when it comes to a funder, why do they ask for the business plan? Is the question anyone who wants finance need to be asking. Because unless you understand why the funders need the business plan, you will miss the point and therefore focus on all your needs at the expense of the needs of the funder. So I want to leave this with you. Funders require business plans primarily because they are investing their hard-earned cash into a business, which means they are going to be exposed to risk. And they want to make sure that they minimize that risk exposure. And for them, the business plan is a form of tool to do their due diligence as to whether a business can expose them to unmeasured risk, which they ought to be aware of to make a judgment as to whether they fund that business or not. So like it or not, they are using it as a tool for selecting the types of organizations or opportunities they want to invest in, bear in mind risk and rewards. So whereas you, the business, may be interested to just tell them about everything and anything that you want to tell them about your great business idea, for them, they're using it as a tool to filter out potential risk kind of opportunities from those who are likely to give them rewards. Think about a business plan as the kind of mechanism used to filter out whether to plant your seed in a particular farm or not. So what are the top reasons why business fail to raise finance? Again, if you understand why business fail to raise finance, you will navigate yourself away from these types of problems and be in a much better position to raise your finance successfully. So top list are the ones I've listed here, one of which is lack of management team, or sometimes a management team is present but it's lacking in experience and therefore do not convey credibility to the funding organization. When it comes down to it, it doesn't matter how great the business idea is. The business idea by itself is not going to make any money for any organization if there isn't sufficient management skills and expertise to manage that organization to deliver the outcomes. So it is a critical factor for consideration and one that anyone writing a business plan should be asking, have we conveyed clearly what the management team is, and make sure we give assurance that they have the expertise and will not expose the funding organization to unmeasured risk. The next is incoherent business plan, whereby the strategy is unclear, the vision is unclear, the mission is unclear, and one does not know what exactly this business is all about. Well, that really posed for a lot of confusion, and very often, I remember there was a time when a gentleman came to me. He had just been turned away for funding, and came to me and asked for help. When I read the business plan, I called the bank and asked why did they reject the application. I remember the banker telling me outrightly that they couldn't understand the business plan, and in truth, it was not the only reason. They clearly did not understand the industry that this gentleman was in. He also has not explained his strategy very clearly, and they certainly had a policy not to lend to that particular industry. So that's a lesson for everyone to learn from. Lack of robust business plan. Now, if the business plan is very confused and it has not answered a lot of questions, then the more unanswered questions, the more likely you're not going to get that funding. It is important that as many of the questions and all the possible questions are answered in the business plan. And rushing a business plan without thinking through some of the details do not help any organization, and very often will create an unsuccessful application. Business plan model is suspect and demonstrates lots of challenges. Now, it doesn't mean that the business idea itself cannot thrive, but the business model that is used to carve that business idea may be suspect in that it is not going to be successful with that business model. And very often when the evaluation is done and that kind of conclusion is arrived at, then there is likely to be a rejection of the application. So one has to make sure that the model that is being used is one that will be accepted by the funding organization. Then there is the case of products and services that is being offered by the organization is not superior compared to those in the market. There is a big problem here because very often, especially if you're starting up or even in business, you will find that the owner of the business is so passionate about their products and services, ignorant about the importance of ensuring that product and service or services is offering superior benefits compared to what is in the market to the target audience. Now, if you fail to recognize that the whole essence of a business is to provide solutions to a target market and do not sufficiently carve the products and services in a way that it will achieve competitive advantage, then you will find that such an application is going to be met with a reject by the investors or the lending market. So it needless to say, even if you have an offer that is beneficial to the target audience or the target market and it's superior, if the marketing plan does not support it effectively, that too could result in problems for funding. Not to mention, last but not least, every funding organization, be it individuals like angels or firms that are lending funds in equity, debt finance, or whatever finance, or even grants, have some kind of minimum requirement for financial viability. Now, the financials are the picture, the monetary picture of your business plan. And there are specific financial ratios that the funding body will perhaps have in mind that all application should meet. And if you fail to meet those financial viability tests, then you will find your funding application again is going to be met with a reject. Now, the problem is when applications for funding are made, very often small businesses are not aware of all of these areas and therefore are met with lack of success and wonder why, because for them the product and service is superior or it's great, it's their baby. Why did they not get the funding? Well, unless you know these rules, you are going to be faced with challenges. So what should be included in the business plan? I'm going to summarize this in some respect. I'm not going to go into all of these in great detail, but I'm going to give you an overview in about most of them. You, of course, need an executive summary, needless to say. And I always say, well, table of contents, that goes without saying anyway. And then you need description of your business, what finance is required and what is required, why you need that finance. The vision and the mission statements, the target market analysis, the products and pricing strategies, all of these areas have to be covered in your business plan. So now let me begin to take you through some of these as part of today's presentation. Firstly, when we talk about description, you want to make sure that You don't start your business plan with a very boring statement about where your organization, where it's located. You want to think about a storyline, because most of these funding bodies, whether it's a funding club like crowdfunding exists now with a lot of investors in it, they are going to be met with lots and lots of business plan application, and they don't want to read something that is boring. They want something that is very interesting. So think about the storyline for your business plan. Think about, why is it that this business exists? What really made this business come to be? Why did you start the business? Or what's the history about this business? Why did it come about? So whether you or not you are starting a business tomorrow, or you've already started, what is the story behind your business? Why did you start the business, or why are you planning to start it? Why that particular market? Think about the interesting story that will make someone want to read the business plan with excitement. But at the core of this segment of your business plan, you must include the details of the name of the business, what products and services it offered, what are the benefits, and to whom the business is targeting its products and services. That is the target market. You need to make sure you mention if the business has been trading or planning to trade, and when it's planned to trade, and how long it's been trading if it is an existing business. What's the track record of this business? What are the key accomplishments over the last few years, and how many staff are employed in the business or will be employed in the business, and how is the business structured? What is the legal structure of this business, and where is it operated from? All of this information is pertinent, so that when the person who, the funding organization, reads this, they begin to get an insight right from the start about what the business is all about. Okay, so finance. This is the core reason why you put together your business plan for finance. You need money from the funding organization. So you want to make sure there is a dedicated section of the business plan that covers this. How much funding is required and why is it required? Don't make the mistake of just giving figures without thinking about how you came about those figures. It's very important that you understand that when your business plan for finance is reviewed, the funding panel will definitely be asking themselves the question, how do we know they need this amount of money, or maybe they need more, or maybe they need less? So you have to give them assurance about how you arrived at these figures. And it's very good practice to be able to show them that you have actually taken the time to research the cost of goods and services that you plan to use the money on. So for instance, I remember when I was reviewing a business plan recently, what this lady actually did, she wanted to buy a property to expand a business. So she's researched the market, she's identified the property that she really wants to buy for the expansion of her business. So she included a copy of the picture of the property and all the different facets of this property and why the property is the best match for the business. If she did not stop there, she mentioned how much it's going to cost and what the offer price is and all the rest of it. Now, another lady who was trying to do some construction work needed to make sure she get quotation for a business, so that she demonstrated that she has obtained 3 quotations from the market, and the basis of the figures she was asking for was very clear-cut. She did not dream about the figure. She actually researched it and was giving information that was viable. I guess by now you have a sense of what I'm talking about. It's also important for you to give some historic financial performance report in a snapshot, maybe in a tabular format or a graph, pie chart. Use something pictorial that will enable the audience, to the funding panel, to see with clarity what their financial picture had been in the past and what it's likely to be in the future if funding were to be given. When it comes to vision and mission, it is so important that you cover this in great detail. Now, it is known, commonly known, and it's been researched that businesses with a vision are likely to be much more successful than ones without a vision. Now, in truth, this does not only apply to a business, it does apply to us as human beings as well. Someone who have a clear vision about their career, about what they want to be, is more likely to have the drive and tenacity and motivation to do something about it than one who doesn't have it. And the same applies to business. So you need to make sure you're clear about what the vision is. So what is a vision? The vision is the end state that you expect the business to accomplish. So you have to make sure you paint the picture that you want your business to accomplish. It could be that your business is set up specifically with a vision to become a #1 restaurant in your particular location, providing a specialist niche market products and services. If that's what you're set up for, then state it. It could be that you really want to be #1 provider of business training, worldwide. But again, unless you're clear about the vision, you're not likely to come up with a plan to achieve it. That's why it's important to have a vision. The mission is the purpose for which the business is accomplished. Now, it's established. Now, you must make sure that the mission is aligned with the vision. If there is a disalignment between the two, then again, it's a recipe for confusion. So, for instance, the company that is set up itself with a vision to become a #1 restaurant in a particular niche market could have a mission to be a provider of high-quality healthy meals in a restaurant setting for a specific target market. So given all of this, what I'm trying to say here is that in your business plan, please ensure you have a clear vision that is congruent with your mission statement. So let's begin to get into the meat of business planning, because when it comes down to this, it is about convincing the funding panel that you have thought through everything to do with your products, your offering, and your strategies to accomplish the goals. So target market analysis is the start. Who is your market? And do not even dare to say everyone is your market. I once met a gentleman I was working with. He was in the business of repairing laptops. He said to me, everyone has laptops these days, so everyone is his market. I smiled and I said, that can't be, because you cannot have a target market that is so broad. You've got to narrow it down, and that's what market segmentation is all about. He couldn't get this point, and I hope you could get it, because what I said to him, okay, if you say everyone is your market, please tell me, if someone from Scotland was to call you tomorrow asking you to come to Scotland from London to repair their laptops, would you be able to go to that customer? He said, of course not. It's going to cost him a lot of money to go there. Then I said, well, that's the point. Everyone cannot be your market. You've got to be very focused about who your target market is. Who are you able to service within the market space? And this is why we do target market analysis in the business plan, because you have to demonstrate that you are clear about who that market is, and you have to show understanding of the market. So in your target market analysis, not only are you going to be stating very clearly who the market is, you want to make sure you segmentalize it in a way that you show that you know about this market in terms of how they select products and services that they buy. What's their choice criteria? What do they use? How do they decide who to buy from? Because when it comes down to it, people buy from people that they love. or they buy brands for a particular reason. So how do they make those decisions? People don't always buy just because of price. They buy for quality as well. Market size. How big is the market? Is this a growing market, declining market, or the market is just stable? Is there sufficient critical mass in this market? Because that's what the funding panel will be looking for. They want to make sure that not only do you understand the market is big enough for you to be viable in that market. No need you sell into a market that is so small at a price that they cannot afford or are not prepared to pay for, because what you're offering is not that superior from the competition. So you've got to bear this in mind. You also want to make sure you demonstrate that you are taking account of the purchasing power of the market. Do you know about their income capacity? Do you know what they prepare to pay for the products and services? Have you done research along those lines? So this is the segment of your business plan that shows, demonstrate understanding of the target market, and the funders are definitely going to make sure to check that you are accurately presented information that they can validate. Remember, I said to you earlier on, for them the business plan is a due diligence mechanism, and so therefore they will do their own check. They're not just going to hand funding to you without checking what you told them is correct. When it comes to products and pricing, again, because it's so important that you understand your market, product is just a function of the benefits that you're going to offer your target market. So you want to make sure that you are clear about the target market and what you're offering those target market. And then it doesn't stop there. Once you know the target market, the product you're offering the target market, what's your pricing strategies for these target markets? This is all important segment of the business plan that must not be ignored, because all of these details that you include in the business plan feeds through to the financial plan that you get to produce towards the end of your business plan. So I'm going to cover this section, and then I will pause and allow Kat to just ask a question or say something. So this segment of your business plan covers the analysis of the internal environment. The internal environment of the business is its own resources that it has control over. There is an element of external analysis, which I'm going to talk about later, but the internal is what you have control over. So you want to look at what are the range of resources required for you to be able to accomplish your business plan objectives. So therefore, if you know what those resources are, the game plan here is you want to kind of make an assessment if you have all those resources. So you look at the human resources dimension, you look at the dimension of capital in terms of financials, you look at the suppliers that are in the markets and your relationship strategies that you will build to procure goods and services at a price that is effective so that your production line will be smart. By that I mean it will be the lowest possible cost, and therefore profitability will not be compromised. You want to make sure that the physical resources in terms of premises are appropriate and equipment are appropriate. So you want to make sure you analyze what you have against what is required. And the end game of this section really is to make a judgment as to your strengths and weaknesses. What are the gaps that you've identified when you analyze the internal market? So, Kat, I'm going to pause now, and I'm handing over to you to see if you have some words to say before I continue.
Okay, thank you so much, Sheila. I just want to bring your attention to the fact that this is a very abbreviated section of the course that we do have available in its entirety. The course actually runs about 8.5 to 9 hours, so Sheila has a lot more detail and everything to cover in the full course. So after the webinar, I'm going to send a nice discount coupon so that you can purchase the course in its entirety, as well as any of the other courses that Sheila has to offer. Additionally, Sheila is offering for the first 10 people that do purchase any of her courses, she is going to be sending her book to you for free. So the first 10 people that purchase will get also Sheila's book for free. Now, I just want to also bring your attention to the fact that Coggno has many courses. Besides business courses, we have software, human resources, sales and marketing, social media, safety, compliance courses. These are available on Coggno.com or on your partner website for purchase. So be sure to visit us and check out what we have. And Sheila, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. So let's go now to the external market analysis so that we're clear about that. When it comes down to the external market analysis, this segment of your business plan, you're going to be demonstrating that you have an understanding of the external forces that are likely to create positive effect or negative effect. I call it the market scanning. You know, you're scanning the scope of the market out there. There is no business in the world that could possibly say that they are immune from the behaviors of others. So we need to find a way of analyzing the macro environment and the micro environment. And there are two different aspects of the external environment. Because of time, I'm just going to cover the macro environmental analysis. When we look at macro environmental analysis, usually the pest analysis is actually a tool that will be used, which simply means you look at the political, economic, social, and technological aspects of that environment. It is impossible for us to look through all the different forces that could possibly have an impact in an organization. So management-wise, these are usually the areas that you have to look at. You look at legislations affecting your industry. What are those legislations? You know, they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. You need to know what they are because you need to make sure you put a business plan that shows you are going to be acting lawfully and not breaching the laws and expose funders' capital to risk. So you need to know what those laws are. You also, of course, want to know what government policies are and their impact on your own business. So basically making those assessments is very, very critical for the purpose of your business planning. When it comes to economics, economic side of things, you can look at it from different dimensions. You want to look at the unemployment rate. Now, I kind of follow Bloomberg very often, and so therefore I know a lot of things that goes on in different world economy, and therefore you want to make, you will know that unemployment rate is a very significant factor that kind of give an indication of the health of an economy. Why do we need to know about this? Because ultimately people and organizations are what you're going to target to sell to. If people don't have money, then they're not going to buy goods and services, and if they don't buy, that means you're not going to make the sales. So therefore, we have to watch out for this particular indicator. It gives us some kind of picture of how healthy or unhealthy the economy that we are operating is. Inflation, the price of goods and services, is another element of economics that we have to look at in the macroeconomic environment. Why do we need to know this? We need to know this because, of course, we're going to buy goods and services for our production lines, and it is going to affect the cost of our production. And if it's going to affect the cost of our production, it is bound to affect the price that we can sell to in the market. Needless to say, it had an impact on our profitability as well. For funders, they need to make sure that the inflation is not going to create a cost of production that is too high that will then result in you charging a price that is too high and make you uncompetitive, or your price is going to be lowered and your margin of profits too low to be able to repay their loans if it's a debt finance, or for that matter to be able to pay dividends if it's an equity finance. So this is important for them too. I won't bother to mention the others because they're covered in the course, but when it comes to social, demographics is an important element of your business planning. You need to know what the demographics is. Is this a demographic that is growing or not? And we're talking about age and the size of the population, the age of the population, the size of the population, and what is happening in that environment space in terms of lifestyle, in terms of all other things that could be happening that you ought to take into consideration. I remember once I was met with a situation where an organization went off, built properties in a place called Cambridge, and they built these properties with the expectation that they were going to sell them to people known as key workers. These are people who are in the teaching profession, the nursing profession, and all the rest of it. Now, what they did not factor in their business planning was that there aren't many people from key workers in that particular location, and they built these properties hoping they were going to sell to those people simply because they did not do their market analysis effectively. So what do you think happened? Eventually, most of these properties had to be used as student accommodation because there were more students in the location rather than the key workers, which they thought they were going to sell the properties to. Now, like it or not, the funders were not pleased, because if they had known that they were going to be exposed like that, I dare say they would not have funded that particular project. Technology. When it comes to technological aspects, we know that this is here for us to stay. It's going to stay here. It has an impact on how we do business. It has an impact on how we are behaving. We even doing this course today, you know, it never ceases to amaze me how many people join courses all around the world. 20 years ago, this was not possible. But this time around, it is possible because technology is available to make that happen. So we need to make sure when you write that business plan, you're taking account of technology, how it's changing, and how it's going to be used to maximize your own benefits for the funders. Then there is an element of market analysis that has to do specifically with the competition. No need to say you don't have any competition because you think your products and services are so unique, no one else is actually doing it. Well, if you look at your products and services as products, without thinking about the benefit it's offering the target market, then you will miss this point completely. When you come to look at competition, you always have to remember this is really about who else in the market space is offering similar benefits or benefits of what you have to your target audience. You need to make sure that you differentiate yourself from them, and there's a whole range of strategies to do so. Of course, you want to know how big they are. You want to know their strengths, their weaknesses. You want to know their unique selling points so that you can differentiate yourself. You want to make sure you are in the market space that you can compete effectively. So competitive advantage is why you're doing competitive analysis. Unless you can use the information to that effect, it is pointless. Very often people do the markets competition analysis. They do not know how to use this segment of the analysis to put together their marketing and selling strategies. Well, if you cannot understand how this works, then it's a problem, because the funding organization is really looking at, right, your offering is great. You understand your target market, but do you really have a marketing strategy that we believe is going to be giving you competitive advantage and a marketing plan to support that? Let's look at that now. So what will be included in this segment of your business plan? You clearly want to make sure you understand the concept of marketing mix. Marketing mix is a key ingredient of marketing strategy. I'm not going to cover it in great detail because I need to leave some time for you to ask questions. But I'm going to talk to you about the key specific ingredients for marketing strategy. They have to be centered around product, price, promotion, place, process, people, and policies. So if we look at product, we're talking about what is being offered here, what benefits that you're offering. Is this benefit superior to what the competition have? We're also looking at the features. What are the mechanism by which they provide this product to the target market? We want to look at price. Is your pricing strategy competitive? And when we talk about price, we're not talking about upfront price alone. We're talking about the cost and the price to the customer, not just the price that you are charging. Of course, how you promote those benefits are also important. I will leave the rest because really it's going to be time consuming for me to go through all of this. But the key point is this. You want to make sure that you put together a marketing mix strategy that shows you are going to be competitively advantageous in the marketplace. And to do so, every business is going to be different. Every business is going to operate differently in their market space, and this is unique. This is not something you could just go and get a template and think you could just write it up, and that's another mistake which small businesses tend to make. So with this said, all of what I've said so far, you've got to put together a milestone to come together in terms of how you're going to address the gaps. When are you going to address the gaps? What resources are you going to invest to address these gaps? So important too. And that's why we put together the SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis is known as strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The strengths usually has to be all the elements that we've identified in the internal environmental analysis that are strengths. Things to do with resources that you have, competencies that you have, know-how, branding, presence, all of these things are strengths. Of course, resources in terms of financial capabilities, network that you have formed, partnership you have formed, all this is strength. Weaknesses could be the opposite of all of that. And it's important you know that the purpose of this is really to make sure you maximize the strength and do something about the weaknesses. When it comes to the opportunities and threats, of course, opportunities are what the market's environment, the external environment, the changes that happen there, what opportunities is that creating for your business, and what threats is that creating for your business. For instance, if the opportunity, if for example there's deregulation, that means anyone can enter that industry. And if the market entry is low in terms of cost, that means high competition. The reverse, of course, is true. So this is what the SWOT analysis is all about. Finally, you want to make sure you clearly talk about risk analysis. Now, nothing gets attention to funding organizations or funding partners or investors who are funding if they can know that you know about risk, because they know that every business has risk. There is risk inherent in all businesses. So you want to make sure you classify the different risks and you determine very clearly how you are managing these risks. Because again, it's about giving them assurance you will not be exposing them to unmeasured risk. You want to make sure your business plan has financials. Financials are going to be based on everything that you have said about the business so far, the assumptions you've made as far as the external and the internal markets is concerned. All of that has to feed into your financial in producing your profit and loss, cash flow, and balance sheet. Finally, you've got to know the different sources of funding. Some may be suitable for your organization type and some may not. It also depends on the stage where your business is at. We have grants funding, debt financing, and equity financing as the primary sources of finance. And of course, you could go to different platforms these days like crowdfunding and literally meet most of these types of funders there. So I want to wrap up. What this all means is this, that basically when you write a business plan for funding, you must bear in mind funders' requirements. You must align your needs for funding with their needs for managing risk. You must demonstrate that you have taken full account of all these specific areas and you will not be exposing them to unmeasured risk. You must know what their policies are in relation to funding your type of business. You must make sure you have the management capacity to demonstrate that they can trust you. You must know that your product must be viable, that you understand the markets and you have demonstrated that understanding in your business planning. Financial viability testing must be done and you must be familiar with those ratios that they use to evaluate you in this regard. Sensitivity analysis must be carried out in your own plans. And there I say, look at the risk-reward ratios for the funders because they'll be looking at payback period, net present values, as well as other factors. So you must make sure you bear that in mind. So I am going to wrap up now and hand you over to Kat again.
Thank you so much, Sheila. That was a very, very informative session, so I appreciate that. If anyone has any questions that you wanted to ask Sheila, you can go ahead and enter those on the chat feature on the right-hand side of your GoToMeeting panel. And we can go ahead and have Sheila ask. I do have one question that just came into me directly, though. Sheila, this question is, why do lenders ask for collateral security for their investment? So Sheila, that question that I was just sent is, why do lenders ask for collateral security for their investment?
They have to make sure that they measure, they mitigate their risk. It's part of the exit strategy. When it comes down to it, because every business has risk, if something goes wrong, the lenders have to ask themselves, how would we get our capital back? So the collateral security is the mechanism to mitigate that risk for them because they know that that security exists and they can sell that security and get their money back because capital is very important for them.
Okay, I hope that answered the question for you. Another question that we have is, how long should the business plan be? And do you have a guide that you might be able to offer to help?
There isn't any universal definition about or guidelines in terms of how long or short a business plan should be. What the best practice for this is, if you're writing a business plan for funding, I would say keep it at least 10 to 15 pages long. Don't make it a thesis. Don't make it too long that it becomes like a book, basically. Well, you could keep it short. If you keep it short and not cover the salient points, that again, you run a risk. And remember, your business plan is made up of the written part and the financials. So together, I would say keep it as long as 15 pages, but don't take it anything more than that.
Okay, great. 10 pages. If there are no further questions, then we'll just go ahead and wrap up today. I just want to thank everyone again for attending today's webinar. And Sheila, thank you so much for hosting today's webinar. I am going to be sending out the slide deck so that everyone has the links. We have a free download book here, the access to finance for startup and small businesses. So, so I'll send you the deck so you have that link and you can get that free download. And also, again, I'm going to be sending out a discount coupon. Feel free to forward that along to your colleagues and friends as well, so that they can take advantage of the opportunity to purchase any of Sheila's courses at a 30% discount. Additionally, again, the first 10 people that do purchase will receive directly from Sheila her book free of charge. Sheila, the title of your book is what is the title of it?
My business is my business. And that's the book that was endorsed by Mark Victor Hansen in 2008.
Okay, Chicken Soup for the Soul author. So that's quite an endorsement. So excellent. That's very exciting. Okay, well, also be sure to register for our future webinar events. In March, we have Office 2013, new features and functions. And also in March, we have 10 tips for improved UST compliance. So look out for those invitations, and I hope to see you at future webinars. Thank you all again. Have a great day.